Have you ever experienced it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben's like, do you have feelings?
Robot over there.
100%. Yeah, I think like, you know, obviously there's like acute depression, you know, like
Yeah.
you know, your fucking calves are small, you don't hit your PR in the gym. No, I'm kidding. There's obviously acute phase that, you know, incidents that happen in life. Dog passes away.
Yeah.
A family member passes away.
Mm-hmm.
Huge tragedies, things like that. So I think I probably experienced it the first time significantly when my dog died. My first one.
Yeah.
Because he like
Dre, right?
yeah, he was like robbed, man. Like he was 4 years old. Like kind of just went out in the backyard, and all of a sudden he was like just fucking in a coma, stomach cancer, whatever.
Fuck.
So I was like, you know, I just felt like his time was too soon. I didn't get enough. He was supposed to come move with us, and you know, all that. So yeah, that was pretty tough, and like
I remember that.
Yeah, that hit hard. Like that hit to the point where like even Steph and I were, you know, kind of colliding. Yeah, because we're both just sad. You know?
Yeah.
And then I reckon after that, knee surgery, like the knee injury, all of that, getting out of shape, because I had the surgery, and I had someone at an old friend, I'll call him now, because I would love to knock his fucking teeth out, because he said, geez, man, you've really let it go. So he said
Jesus.
To me.
Thanks, bro.
So I was literally like, maybe, I don't know, probably a month off crutches. Yeah. And like, yeah, granted, like activity didn't meet the intake. Yeah. So, you know, a bit out of shape. Yeah. So, yeah.
But when that's something that's important to you too.
So that killed me. Yeah. And yeah, just not being able to lift and move and do all that stuff. So, yeah, that was pretty tough. But to be fair to this person, like, you know, that was the last straw. And then I got fucking inside out.
Shredded.
Inside out. Fucking shredded. So maybe that was what I needed. I needed that tough love. So yeah, and then I think the lockdown definitely like yeah, fuck. Yeah. That was the hardest 18 months of my life. 2 years of my life, hands down. Yeah. And I reckon if I didn't get Mav, I reckon I don't actually even know how I got through that. Yeah. So he was just by chance, like he came, I managed to get Steph when she was weak. Said, can we get another dog? And then like I reckon, if I didn't have him over that period, it would have been even more challenging time. Yeah. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, it's interesting and we'll go into it more, like the difference of like that acute response versus like the chronic people that suffer from it like their whole lives and stuff. And you're able to say like, this is why. Yeah. Which even at the time though, you're still not able to really deal with it. No. The jail, we'll call it, for monetization standpoint, not that we get paid on podcasts at all, to maximize reach. To have like 3 grown men that started as an argument and then everyone just cried. We were just like, everyone was so unhappy and so fucking stressed.
So awful.
Yeah, it was wild.
That was the hardest thing to navigate. Yeah. Just like having the thing that you love, you spent like so many, you know, days, hours, minutes, fucking just pouring yourself into it, getting to a position where you're like, we're actually going to do what we set out to do, you know? Yeah. And then have it all just taken away from you. Yeah. You know, and having to just continuously pivot. Yeah. Like just spinning all the fucking time. Gotta go this way, gotta go that way, and just having that like.
It's wild how little, and I feel like it's still gone out on a limb, like socially, but looking back at how bullshit the whole thing was now, and how little anyone talks about it,
still really
blows my mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to control my emotions about the whole thing because I can't control the outcome. Yeah, But I am incredibly bitter about everything, and I think everyone is, and that's why it's not. Yeah, no one's being held accountable for it. No one's really talking about it that much. I think that hurts the most. It hits the hardest. Is like, there's no kind of closure on it. It's just like we just got fucked over from bad choices, and now, if anything, we're having to actually pay for them. Yeah, you know. Yeah, and any of the opinions for the next 10 years, apparently,
any of the opinions that you had at the time meant you were a piece of shit.
Yeah, you didn't know anything,
and now it's like that's accepted truth.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, without going ranting, because we could talk about that.
Bit of a sore spot, as you can tell.
Yeah, so for myself, I think like mid-teens, parents separated, shit blew up with my mum and stuff. Everything was like lost because of that. I changed, lost all my friends, just like fucking chaos. Was in a real deep hole, like no attempts, but definitely plans. Yeah. Like took a knife to bed one night, like this is it sort of shit. So that was a period of time, and then I met a mate who's still the best mate of mine now. Yeah. And my high school girlfriend at around the same time, and just like found a community and was like, okay, it's okay.
It's gonna be all right.
Yeah. And then I think I avoided a lot of it through just partying, like alcohol on the weekends. Yeah. Just like fucking blackout drunk every weekend, just deal with it.
Issues,
Yeah, so it's interesting. It was probably longer lasting, but it was more probably, I guess, based around self-worth and stuff than anything else.
Do you feel like some of your... Because, like, it's funny you mention those things. I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot about them. Do you feel like some of those were maybe, like, you reacted that way because you were younger and you didn't have the resilience... Like, if some of those situations happen now, would you react differently is more the question, I guess. Yeah. Like, not all of them, of course. Like, everyone has the right to feel a certain way. Your parents separate, doesn't matter when.
Yeah. So I think, like, the circumstances that happened was basically a third of the most important people in my home life were removed from my life overnight. Yeah. And then all of my school friends, like, literally picked up out of that group, gone.
Yeah, wild.
Like, done. So it was like, it was my own fault. Like, I was being a dick. Yeah. Because I was angry at fucking everyone. Like, you can see it in my school photos. It's wild. It's like undercut in primary school. Yeah. Like, the short back and sides into, like, late primary school, frosted tips with the nice fringe and shit. And then, like, within
don't care
1 picture or 2 years, it's like dyed black, grown out, shabby, clothes
basically, if
don't fit.
I could do this,
I
would.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you just discovered Eminem and Slipknot, like Limp Bizkit.
Who hurt you?
Yeah. So, so that sort of transition, I was like, so as you were saying that, it was like being younger. So the Hormozy thing of like the best way to build confidence is to have an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. I didn't have it. Yeah. There was no proof that I was valuable that I could find.
Who has that at that age though?
Yeah. And then you're dealing with step parents and fucking it was all weird. That all went weird too because like my stepmom was like, she signed up for fortnight on, fortnight off, and then I was like, yo, I live here now. So she's like, this isn't what I signed up for. Yeah. And then that all was like, basically said to Dad, you have to choose. Yeah. And that was like a big step that he went, nah. Yeah. I was like, okay. Stability, got some friends, that happened. I was like, okay, I'm a little bit okay. So I think, definitely when you're younger, you don't have the stack of proof. Yeah. That A, it's going to work out. Yeah. B, that you're worth something. And then listening to the guy on the podcast I was listening to this morning was saying like, particularly that going down like the extreme end of like that suicide route and stuff was like, I think men are like I think they're 10% effective with their attempts. Yeah. And then women are like 1% effective. Yeah. Which I didn't know. I didn't know women had a higher suicide attempt rate than men. Just men are more successful at it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I was aware of that. Like men just like sometimes just leave no option.
Yeah, like more likely to use a gun and shit like
or
that,
like just do something that's just like erasing the opportunity of survival.
Correct. Yeah. So, so basically, this guy's theory, and I don't know how true it is. I listened to a guy talk for an hour, and now we're having a discussion. I'm not fucking diagnosing anything. I'm not an expert.
Just calm the fuck down.
Yeah, basically. So his theory was, I'm willing. I need to show my community. Actually, let's come back to that. So we're going to come back to why people get to that stage. Okay. But yeah, outside of that, there's been a couple of like breakups that were pretty rough. Yeah. That I sort of had to ride a little bit. Yeah. But outside of that,
I laugh only because like my first one, I thought the world was going to end. And it's like
turned out okay.
Yeah. It's going to be all right.
But again, it's like the evidence things. Like I don't have any evidence that there is someone else that
or undeniable proof that you're going to be okay.
Yeah,
that it's going to be all right.
Yeah. So coming back to the start and where we went way deep, way quick. But outside of that, I think there's a few. Lockdown was definitely one. Amy and I actually separated during lockdown, which is fucking wild. Yeah. And then we were married within, I don't know, 12, 14 months.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
It's very interesting. Not just that. We were sitting back watching really long relationships fracture.
Yeah.
During that period of time, and people don't understand what it's like to just live in the pockets of people.
Yeah.
All the time, and have
and be depressed.
I was gonna say, and have all of this stuff affecting you mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how. Just the ramifications of people's decisions. I don't know how they sleep at night.
Yeah,
knowing that there's a select group of people that are responsible for so much hardship.
Yeah,
it's fucking wild.
So something that I thought was really cool. So I think, he didn't in the chat, but I think it's probably important that I would suggest that there are cases of chronic depression that are, from what I can understand, some kind of brain chemistry thing.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure people there's certain conditions that are medically diagnosed where the brain actually doesn't produce the chemicals, the neurotransmitters and stuff, or ones in certain proportions.
Yeah,
that balances out your thoughts and your mental state.
Yeah, which I think is a different experience to what we're talking about, which
is an experience.
Yeah,
that's influencing your mental state.
Yeah, without diminishing it, but it's a mood. It's not a condition. Let's say
it's not chronic.
Yeah,
it's acute.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the way he described it in that context is depression is a response to adversity.
Yeah.
So it's a psychological injury.
Yeah.
So when you did your knee, your body created pain, swelling, and was like, stop doing the thing because you're affecting your ability to survive.
Yeah.
If you keep doing this thing, you won't survive. You won't be able to procreate. You won't be able to keep up with the tribe, whatever.
Yeah.
So stop doing that thing. And we take that as like, well, that makes sense. I've got a sore ankle. I can't walk on the sore ankle. So if I keep walking on the sore ankle, I'm going to get fucked up, and then I won't be able to keep up when we move or be able to provide value to my community. And if I can't provide value to my community, I'll be isolated. If I'm isolated, I'm dead. It's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Follow that train. And then you go, okay, if I have a psychological expression of that same thing, the depression is like the adversity, the way he defined adversity was a threat to your survival. So if you have a breakup, you losing a mate means procreation, survival is a real problem. Maybe you losing, usually in a breakup situation like that is like you're losing friends. There's usually sides, there's usually groups. You're losing community, an extended family, all that kind of is laid into it. So it's like the depression is a response to this is really bad. And the theory that he put forward was like it's a forced measure, like the not wanting to get out of bed, the low energy, all of that stuff is like a forced way to get you to reflect on what happened.
Right.
So he was like, his dad died of cancer pretty suddenly, and his mum went through crazy depression straight afterwards. Through that depression, she became what we would probably refer to as like paranoid, and her depression came from her feeling that she could have noticed it sooner, and did something sooner, and then maybe he's still around.
Yeah.
So forced the doctor, her son, to go to the doctor, and they found, I think it was not dangerous at the time, but found a tumor in the same spot, and they got it out, and it's like, well, that potentially saved my life because it hadn't turned yet, but it could have.
Yeah.
So it's like that is a forced. You need to see what's going on around you because this is fucking up what's going on. So when we are removed from our communities, removed from our fulfillment, removed from everything, it's like, well, this is a threat to my survival. I've lost my tribe. So it was a really interesting, I guess, insight and a way to look at it.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, it's hard because it's like, are you able to think that at the time?
I think some people can, some people can't.
Yeah.
I think it gets to a point, I think in some instances, even from my own personal experience, there becomes a point where you're like, I have two choices.
Mm.
I either reflect and try and get on with this thing, try and heal whatever needs to be healed, or just do something else to just be productive and just get on with.
Yeah,
I can't just sit here. Or some people maybe just don't have, for whatever reason, have the strength, power, the ability to continue.
It's too deep.
Yeah. Just they need maybe some external help or people around them to do that, or circumstances to change. I'm not sure. But there just becomes I feel like in a lot of instances, I just like, I know for me, I've just got into a point where I'm just like, something has to give.
Yeah.
Whether it's me being uncomfortable for a little bit of time to move towards something more beneficial, because I just can't continue on this route because I just don't see any more benefit to doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. I think, and why we're talking about it on this podcast, obviously, like, it's an important conversation to have, and there's not many 30-something-year-old males having this conversation on podcasts about training. But we have seen it a lot with personal trainers that come through and that don't do well. Yeah. Like, you just see mental health deteriorate so quickly.
Yeah.
And when you look at it through this lens, it's like, I don't know, I wish there's a point where you're like, hey, I'm starting to feel this way. To go, okay, this is, let's call it a psychological injury, for example, for lack of a better term. I don't think that's the word he used, but I didn't write it down.
Catch it.
Yeah, so call it that for lack of a better term. This is a psychological injury that's triggering me in a way that's supposed to be like, hey, something is creating danger for our survival. So if you're not making any money and you're under heaps of pressure and you feel like a failure and you're not valuable, like that, if you're not valuable in your community, then your community doesn't value you, and that's it on your way. And then if you're on your own, your survival rate's very fucking low.
Yeah.
And then even like how appealing you are to a mate, to reproduce, and all of those types of things start to kind of layer in over top of that when you're not doing so well. So I think it's cool. It would be cool to have the presence of mind as you're starting to feel like that, to be like, this is like your elbow hurting because you elbowed a wall.
Yeah.
Like you hit your funny bone. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's bad for you. And this is like a warning sign that, like, hey, the circumstances of your life right now are non-conducive to long-term success. And I'm your brain. I'm making you feel this way so you can be aware of that.
Yeah.
I just feel like that would be a really useful tool. I'm not certain.
When you play the card.
Yeah, I'm not certain how many people would be able to just catch that and leverage it when you need to.
Yeah, catching it's going to be the toughest part.
Yeah, because it's the same as like during jail time. It was like the toxic positivity thing came up a lot.
Yeah, it was triggering me heaps.
And it was like, yeah, it was interesting because I know you had...
Experiencing it was triggering me, not seeing it.
Yeah, so you had the experience where, like, don't tell me that other people have it worse, because that just makes me more pissed off.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you could be worse. It's like, well, it's still pretty bad for me.
Yeah,
I still have the right to feel this way.
The way that I do. Yeah,
regardless of like whether I'm still fortunate or seeing my cushy house with the internet and
correct.
Like, playing Warzone and shit. Like, it's still shit. I don't want to do this.
Correct.
I want to be fucking making my business right.
You should go to Afghanistan, bro.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic.
You didn't have to fight on the beaches of Normandy. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Fucking hell. How'd you get here?
But then also I'm going to use dichotomy again.
Oof.
The weird thing is also I find solace in comparison quite often, where I'm able to be like, well, I'm grateful for the situation being the way it is. This person has it much worse than me. So who am I to complain?
There's a time and a place for that.
And gives me that edge to do it. Like the first, and hopefully it sounds like we're going to have the guys on the podcast. So CDG shirt on today. Friends of mine have a son who suffers from CDG. I'm not going to try and pronounce the actual term. But it means he's really, really limited in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine like basically having autism, I don't want to like fuck it up, but non-verbal autism and seizures, etc., etc. Yeah. No muscle tone.
Yeah.
Super, super limited in his abilities. We did our first like run, and we did a 5K. It was supposed to be for them. It was supposed to be an event. The event got cancelled. We all had like the CDD shirts and stuff on. It was like halfway through, it was like fucking 40 degrees or something. I hadn't trained in any heat. I was like, fuck this. And I was like, dude, imagine what Michael and Amy go through every fucking day.
Yeah.
The rest of the run was a little bit easier.
And old David Goggins on yourself.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, I'm tired. Like, fuck up. So that's interesting, I think, like to the way you can leverage stuff at times. And then other times it's
you're
like,
leveraging that for yourself though.
Yeah.
You're leveraging that to
but someone pushing it down your throat.
Propel you in a direction. Like you're not dismissing somebody's feelings because somebody else has it bad.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like you're not you're actually not accepting that someone has the right to feel the way they feel.
Yeah, my lungs still hurt.
Yeah. So that's like me saying, fuck it, man. Like, you know, who cares if your body feels like this person's got like fucking one leg. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they can still do whatever. It's like, that's fucking bullshit. Yeah. Especially when it's like a really significant event that's happened to somebody. Yeah. It's like they have the right to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where there's a big distinguishment.
Yeah.